We are back on MorningLine. Our guest with us this morning, Dr. Calvin Smith over at Meharry, and I appreciate him joining us today. We'll take your phone calls and comments as we went to the break. All right, so that's the big question, too, now. You just talked about some of the disheartening information where we wonder about herd immunity, where everyone eventually all gets this virus, and then we have the antibodies and we're protected from it until the next virus comes along. And we're not sure that we're seeing some people who have had it get it again. What does that mean for a vaccine?
So for a vaccine, it doesn't necessarily make a vaccine not viable. And the flu is a good example of that because, we have to change up the formulation of the flu vaccine every year, but
Sure.
Generally we do a pretty good job. There is some good news on the horizon. There are 2 locations where we've had pretty good results from the early trials of vaccines. And the one that looks the most promising is the one out of England and Oxford University. This one involves the T cells, and those that are familiar with HIV/AIDS know that's a virus that affects the T cells, lowers your T cell immunity. Well, in this particular case, with this vaccine, it will activate the T cells, and if your T cells are activated, they will continue to educate IgG, IgM, and holds a lot of promise to actually have a very good rate of keeping people immune to the virus. So I'm hopeful about that.
Yeah, and that's what I like. I like a little good news in our show this morning, and I know I see on Facebook and other people. Look, I see our newscasts. I anchor the morning news right now, and I get COVID fatigue. I'm sorry. Now I know just the fact that I'm sick of hearing about it doesn't mean it's going to go away, and I know there's things I need to still monitor, but I really am sick of it. I'm sick of it. I'm sick of the stories about it. I'm sick of the depressing stuff. It's to the point where half the time I won't watch, especially the national news, because it just brings me down, and there's nothing I can do about it except continue to do my part, which I think I do. So I just want, what's the end game here? Obviously, we've taken a disturbing step back, but I keep saying to folks when they're like, well, why do we have to do this? Why? I say, just look at New York City. And I'm just saying, New York City was the epicenter. They had coolers in there. They had so many corpses. People were dying left and right. You saw a governor, Cuomo, and just talking about how awful it was. And now New York City is a shining example. I think the other day they reported maybe 10 cases or something. It works, right? We know what works. So what's the end game? I mean, as depressing as this is right now, I don't want people to despair.
So, Nick, Americans are resilient people. We've been through so many things as Americans, and this is a tough one. This is a very tough, we've never seen anything like this, and that's a part of the fear. And I think that, a lot of the pushback that people are showing is because they don't want to live in fear. And I understand that, I'm not fearful. And I think if we remove that element of fear and replace that with caution and being considerate for other people, because again, with this virus, the scary part about it is you can have it and not know it and pass it along to somebody who is more likely to get it and more likely to get it in a severe form. We as Americans can do it. It's been shown that we are able to do it in New York. Other countries are able to do it. Countries that don't necessarily have the same resources that we have. Now, this has shown us that there are some gaps in our healthcare that we were aware of, but now it's making those things kind of glaring. And we need to show the American resolve and resiliency to fight back against this and to have courage and to be, and turn the TV off. Sorry.
No. I'm with you. I'm in the TV biz. I watch my share to get the latest, but then I turn it. You got to break away from it at points because it just pounds you down. And I'm a TV guy saying this. I'm not saying tune it out. I'm just saying don't let it overwhelm you.
Yes, watch Nick, get some good positive balance, positive and negative balance. Life is all about balance as far as I'm concerned. And, we'll get some bad news, but, there's always some good news on the horizon. Again, we've faced pandemics before. And, the pandemic of 1918, the hope is that we don't repeat these kind of things and we learn the lessons from them. In the pandemic of 1918, people wore masks and they looked out for one another. And eventually we got over it. We have way more resources at our disposal now. Our timelines should be faster, and other countries have demonstrated that they have been able to do it faster. But, with that being said, we are where we are. This is not a blame game. We are trying to help everybody else out. And the best thing you can do to help everybody else out, to be honest with you, is wear your mask. Don't make excessive trips. We have surgeons that have been wearing masks for 30, 40, 50 years. The kind of mask that people are wearing out, in the community, performing procedures and doing just fine with asthma, with other conditions for 6-7 hour procedures. Surely a trip to 15 minutes to the twice daily or to Walmart, you can tolerate wearing a mask. If it helps protect somebody's grandma, grandpa, helps protect somebody's aunt, uncle, helps protect your neighbor, and that's the way I look at it.
Let's take a quick call from Jonathan. Jonathan, good morning. Hi, Jonathan.
Hey, how you doing?
Good morning, sir.
Okay, so here's the concern that I have. The first concern I have is that you all keep asking people that are not actual parents what they feel and what they think. And it's not so much of taking a disrespect towards it or saying that what you feel doesn't matter or isn't concerned, but when you're a parent that has to deal with taking off work and things of that nature, then it's the point of view changes. And if you already know that you have to wear a mask out, why would you put a child in a situation like that, knowing that all parents don't have the same means to potentially get around, or all parents don't have the same amount of money or things of that nature, and can pretty much endanger a child in a way that can have some everlasting effects.
Okay, well, as far as, well, first of all, he's a doctor, and parents listen to doctors all the time on it. I am a parent, but I hear what he's saying. The concern, about parents have a lot of things to think about here, in fairness to the parents out there. There's a lot of folks, doctor, that maybe would prefer not to send their children back, maybe, but they've got a real daycare issue with their kids, and they need to go back to work. And who's going to stay home with the little one if they keep it home? Parents are juggling a lot here.
Again, I want to stress this, and Jonathan, I feel your point, man. I don't have children, and I'd love to defer a lot of those kind of things to people who actually have children, and I actively participate in discussions with people who do, but I'll never understand the point of view of a parent until I become a parent. So I don't want to even put that impression.
Point taken from Jonathan. Yeah.
That being said, in an ideal world, we should be able to have reasonable options for both. And, again, I think it's where our happy medium is going to be ideally is if we have some setup where we kind of split days and make the groups smaller. If we have no other choice but to bring people in person, then, small groups are going to have to be where our compromise is made. And again, the economy, everything's taking a hit. Everybody's taking a hit. And I don't want to be presumptuous and tell somebody that their blues are worse than mine or vice versa. We're all going through this in our own ways. And, I have empathy for everybody's situation. I just want people to be considerate to one another. That's the biggest thing that I can say.
Hey, doctor, I agree with you 100% on that. And I do understand where Jonathan was coming, and good point on your part. This just now breaking right now, as a matter of fact. I'm not sure if you're familiar with this specific drug, but the U.S. will be paying, and you talked about money and people out of money. We all knew whoever comes up with a vaccine is going to make a lot of money. But the U.S. now, this report just breaking, will pay the drug company Pfizer $1.95, nearly $2 billion with a B dollars, to produce and deliver 100 million doses of the company's COVID-19 vaccine candidate should the drug prove effective in human trials. And I'm guessing, I'm not sure if you're familiar with this Pfizer drug, a lot of them right now, and you said there's one, of course, we've heard about out of Great Britain that's showing a lot of promise, but a lot of them are moving to human trials. But the U.S. already then stepping up with Pfizer, offering them $2 billion for these doses. Do you know anything about the Pfizer drug, or what do you think of that?
I have to be honest with you, Nick, I'm not as well versed on the drug. I'm aware that particular vaccine is being formulated. From what I understand, its mechanism is a little bit different, follows a little bit closer to what we do with the flu vaccine. I'm all, again, if you're doing hard work to get these kind of things out here to the population and they are effective, certainly that effect will then bounce back onto the economy and have people back into work and all those kind of things. And so, those people need to be rewarded.
Sure.
And kind of that. My caveat to all of that is safety. I want it to be safe for everyone. We don't want for us to find out 6 months down the line that there's some devastating effect from it. So, I want us to have a due diligence and a caution, an abundance of caution. With that being said, I also want to get back to a normal way of life. Like you said, Nick, I'm sick of it.
Mm-hmm.
I had trips planned. Yeah. My passport is no longer accepted in a lot of countries where it would have been. So I want to get back to normal.
I gotcha. Hey, well, listen, I want to thank you, Dr. Smith, for coming on today. Pleasure talking to you. You're just a really calming and I think a good voice for how we should handle this responsibly, and I appreciate it. Hopefully, we'll see you out there at Nissan again sometime soon.
Yeah, I should be back later this week. And Nick, if you don't mind, can I indulge? Just wanted to send a get well wish to one of my colleagues, Dr. Darren Allen. Dr. Allen is a primary care doctor out in the outlying community. Who was in the hospital recently and was sent home on oxygen, but he's bouncing back, doing well. Good. COVID won't defeat you, Darren. So thank you.
Gotcha. Hey, thank you again. Wish him well. Wish you well, sir. We'll talk to you again soon, okay?
Look forward to it, Nick.
Take care, Dr. Smith. We'll take a break. I'll be back with the programming note right after this.